It's like serving a prison sentence. What is it like to regret having children? I'll give you an honest answer, because it's not often I get to tell this story to people who want to hear it, and I doubt many people have a story to tell. His mother and I only met originally cause we worked at Walmart and did coke together on our days off. We dated for a few years, then split because she was a total slut and would have sex with anyone who gave her attention. About 6 months after we split I called her up for a booty call, and of course she said yes, because I told her I'd get high with her. Few months later she comes by and tells me she's pregnant. I tell her that sucks and slam the door in her face. Flash forward to him being born. She claimed the whole time she was pregnant he was mine. I consistently disagreed. However, she told my mom, who couldn't let it go, and paid for a DNA test after he was born. Sure enough, that's my DNA and a little crack baby. I had a choice to make. Disappear and let him become another piece of human excrement like his mom and her people, or get clean and do the right thing. Thankfully my mother kind of forced me into doing the right thing. So what is it like to regret it? He's 12 now and I gave up my life for him. His mom barely sees him, and even 12 years later he has breakdowns about why does my mom not love me. He struggles in school, he is clinically diagnosed ADHD, depression, and anxiety. I do experience the love for your child you can never understand without first being a parent, but if I was able to go back in time I would, and I'd kick myself in the genital and break my cell phone. He's living a life he never asked for, learning to experience things no child ever should, and struggling to figure out why he even exists. But can I be honest with him and tell him I never wanted him? Nope. I have to keep the illusion alive as long as possible to not mess up his life any more than it already is. You can feel trapped. You feel pressure to keep a job you don't like because you can't afford to quit and try something else because you can't as easily cut costs to make it through. Not to mention the fear of some sickness or injury they might get and you no longer have insurance. Or it's difficult to get much time for yourself because you work, need to help your family, etc. That all said, for me personally it's getting better the older and more capable they get. But I'm realistic in knowing it'll be fleeting because they'll be teens after a few good years. My kids are overall really good compared to many. I don't regret having my daughter. I regret telling my wife I wanted children. It was something we talked about long before getting married, and I thought I wanted it. But I just really loved her and wanted her to be happy. There's no going back after that, not without devastating her. So we went forward. And we have a daughter now. And I love her so much. But there's no time for all the other things I used to enjoy. It's rough. It really is. On the one hand you feel bad because you're my kids and I love you and all, and on the other hand the fabric of American existence changed dramatically since I had you, and made having children far less economically feasible. In fact, I would be 5 years from retirement instead of 20 had I never had you. That fact preys on your mind when money is tight and you're looking down a long and not necessarily necessary tunnel of working until you're too old to enjoy retirement. Having a parent not work to stay at home just exacerbates the situation. How can you sometimes resent a child you chose to bring into the world? It's bad as hell. But sometimes you can't help it. It's soul-crushing. You love them, and you die for them in a second, and you do the best you can. But inside you're hoping maybe you're just one of the moms that does better with teens because babies and toddlers are not your bag. I was always going to child-free, and would always ask guys in the first week of dating if they wanted kids one day. If they said yes, I knew it wasn't going to work. Well, my now husband had just gotten out of his first marriage, they didn't have kids, so I believed him when he claimed he didn't want any. About a year and a half into our relationship some of our friends were having babies and he changed his mind. I was upset, and then because I loved him so much, I didn't want him to be bitter in 20 years if we didn't have any and it was because of me. So, 12 years later I have 4 because he just loves the babies. I love them very much, but after the third I literally begged to not have any more. Velp, that didn't go as planned. Anyway, people say I'm a good mom and I suspect their childhood is better than mine, but I'm always scared they know how awkward I am as a mom and that it's going to mess them up. I tell them all the time how much I love them, and I do. But I gave up everything I had planned for my life. I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 10 years and I hate it so much. My house is like a prison. It's like serving a prison sentence. The playground is the prison yard and all the other parents are the inmates. Some are embracing their time to serve and have adapted quite well. They come talk to me like, so how old is he? And I just want to suicide bomb the place just to avoid that awkward parent-to-parent conversation. Dude, I don't care about your kid. I don't even care about mine. I'm just here getting him tired for bed. Hearing your friends and family congratulate you while they enjoy their freedom is the worst part. Congratulations is the last thing I want to hear. I don't regret my wife and I having the first two. I was done and satisfied with that number. My wife wanted one more and to make her happy I said yes. After trying for months for number 3, I decided I really was done. Right as I was about to tell her that, she surprised me with the news that number 3 was on the way. And it turned out that we were also having a bonus, number 4. I haven't enjoyed being a parent for the last 10 years. I've been jokingly counting down the years until they go off to college. I became a stay-at-home dad because being a teacher would barely cover the cost of daycare for twins, and wife's job paid much better. I'm responsible for them and do my best to raise them to be good people, but I'm putting on an act every day so that they never have a clue I didn't want to make them. It's hard. It's not about not loving the kid. I do. It's about not having any more control over my life. It's basically work, go home, take care of kid, go sleep, wake up, take care of kid, go work, and repeat. No more spontaneity is possible. No more personal time. We don't even have time anymore to do some stupid couple things like talk, make plans. I plan to have my children. I never particularly liked kids in my younger life, so I don't know why I wanted them. I guess I was just doing my part to live the American dream and just check the boxes in life. Out came my first son and I was so proud and excited. Over time, he became very difficult to deal with and caused many stressful fights. We had another kid. He's a sweetheart, thank God. But as they got older, the more I realized I just didn't enjoy being a parent. It is so much give for very little if any reward. I didn't find anything they did cute or enjoyable. There were moments they were bad and I wanted to leave, and moments that were tolerable. That was about it. Then my relationship with wife deteriorated from all the fighting and tough days and nights. Unfortunately, you don't know if you'll enjoy being a parent until you have kids. By then it's too late. My wife and I are now separated and I see the kids 40% of the time. It is honestly so much better for me. I can enjoy being a parent more because I know it's for a certain amount of time. It makes it way more manageable and then I can live my life like I want to the rest of the time. The first thing I'm going to address, you can have regret without resentment. You can have regret, and still love them. You constantly feel like you're torn apart. You regret them, because you love them. People need to stop sugarcoating what pregnancy and parenting is really like. When someone says they've made a decision about their reproductive health, believe them. You're not the one that will make the sacrifices, or suffer for it, if we're pressured into it. I regret my daughter for a number of complex reasons, but I will stick to a general and honest answer. I grew up in abuse, and in a high-control religious cult. They obviously didn't believe in giving sex education. I live in a state that has abstinence plus, but the plus is really just emphasizing contraceptive failure, and exaggerating STD rates. I didn't know how my cycle worked, until I got pregnant. Like most high-control religious groups, women are looked down upon, and treated as lesser than. The high-control group I grew up in doesn't believe in blood transfusions, so they have some of the highest maternal death rates. If you wore a shirt too fitted, or skirt too short, you were gossiped about. Rape victims were blamed. My mother and I left when I was 17. She started dating again, and suddenly we were living with her boyfriend, and they were constantly fighting, and screaming, and putting me in the middle of it. I had enough. I was tired of my mother's bad relationships, and at that point I was 18, and realized I didn't have to stick around. So I didn't. I left. I just wanted a normal life. I was diagnosed with PTSD at 13, because of the abuse I was subjected to. I thought once I could get away from it, that everything would be alright. At the point that I left, I was 3 weeks away from graduating high school. I was dating a guy I grew up with, that had left the high control group. His parents were still in, but they were good people, though. I'm thankful they've pretty much stopped attending the group. They took me in, but threatened to cut my boyfriend, now husband, out of their life, if we got an apartment without getting married first. We planned on getting married. Just not then. We wanted to give it a year, maybe 2. Being 18, and 20, we would need someone to co-sign for everything. I had nowhere else to go. So we got married. One of the only things about this that I don't regret. I got lucky. I could have continued the cycle of domestic violence. Shortly after, I graduated high school, then I got pregnant. All the things I heard about pregnancy and parenting were good things. Oh, as soon as you hold them you will fall deeply in love. You don't know love until you become a parent. Pregnancy is something you have to experience. It's a little painful, but it's worth it. Don't worry, everything will just come together. I feel like I was lied to. I know I was lied to. The one thing no one talks about when it comes to children and pregnancy is that it can be traumatizing. That not everyone loves their baby when they hold them. Some don't, or can't bond right away. No one tells you that if you're a survivor of child abuse, that your child can trigger your trauma. No one talked to me about what could go wrong, or about how high my risk of postpartum psychiatric illness was. I feel like I was tossed aside. I had a traumatic delivery. My daughter and I both came pretty close to death. She was delivered by emergency C-section. My privacy wasn't respected how it should have been postpartum. I was treated differently by hospital staff because of my age and the fact that I was on Medicaid. I wasn't told how I was supposed to get up after a C-section. My daughter was losing weight because I was struggling with breastfeeding, and no one informed me of it until I was scolded by a nurse. I'm not going to go into too much more detail, but let's just say it definitely has played a part in me struggling the way that I do now. I'm not the only one with this type of experience, unfortunately. Anyway, surprise, surprise, I got diagnosed with postpartum depression shortly after that. Then I suffered a manic and psychotic episode. I had one episode in my teens, but was never caught. So, 6 months postpartum, I'm slapped in the face with 2 major mental health issues, on top of my previous trauma. I regret having my daughter. It's not just from mental health issues. It's because I now know that she has a chance of it being passed down to her. If I knew about my bipolar disorder before having her, I never would have had children. No child deserves to suffer with the issues I have. It's almost too much for me to deal with, let alone a child. My child. I regret her, because despite not wanting to admit it, I have a difficult time bonding with her, because of my mental health. How the hell do you cope with your child triggering your PTSD? That's not what people talk about. We're the people that get ignored, because we're unpleasant to think about. You can regret any choice you make. Children aren't immune. I regret having children, but not for why I think you're asking the question. I never wanted kids, but ended up with 2, and I love them more than words can describe. Truly, I don't know how to explain the feeling of love when I see them both every morning or every night, or watching them experience new things when we go to a new park or went to Disneyland for the first time recently. But I absolutely regret having children with the person I had them with. I'll never leave, though, because the thought of not seeing my children every day absolutely crushes me. Children I didn't even want in the first place. My first kid was with a POS. He left me when I was 2 months pregnant because he wanted the kid and never wanted to be with me. He totally played me and I fell for it. The day after the kid was born, he went straight to court to try and get full custody, which failed. I had to leave my job, friends and home to go live with my parents, which was a special hell. I'm honestly surprised I hadn't just killed myself. I was under so much pressure, anxiety, depression, etc. It's been 3 years and the water over the river looks smooth. I had one more with my current husband and that child is a special hell too. Always screaming when he doesn't get his way and wailing every night since he was born, almost 2 years. I don't have friends, I am a stay-at-home mom, and I only have the gym and antidepressants for comfort. Had a daughter about a year ago. It's soul-sucking when you don't want a kid but get one anyway. I'm relatively young and had a fling with a girl I liked from high school. Things went too fast and suddenly she was pregnant, wanted to keep it. It's hard being in a situation like this. On one hand you want freedom, privacy, spontaneity, money, security, opportunity. But on the other, you truly want to be there for the kid. It's not like kids just get a second father, especially when the parents are younger. I've wanted to leave many times, every bone in my body wanted to yell, curse, scream for my unfortunate reality, but in the end there's nothing you can do. You're either there for the kid and deal with the life of a parent, forever shackled by the responsibilities and obligations raising a child and being a parent, or you leave, deal with the guilt and the judgment, and, most probably, pay child support, which ain't cheap at all. I miss my old life so much. When things get hard or the kid starts screaming and throwing a tantrum, I die a little on the inside. I just want things to go back to the way they were, no major responsibilities, freedom, spending time with friends, going wherever I wanted whenever I wanted without having to look and beg for a babysitter. I feel like I didn't get enough time to be selfish. I didn't get enough time to enjoy and indulge in my freedom after moving out of my parents' house. The worst part? Your life becomes boring. Nothing ever changes. Nothing new happens. You don't go anywhere because your kid is a burden when you're trying to go out. You don't stay up late because you need the time to sleep more than anything. You don't spend time with friends, especially if you're younger, because no one wants to be around a crying baby, or even just a baby in general. You don't casually go to the mall just to walk around because now with the kid it feels like a chore. You spend all your money on the kid. You don't get to be selfish. Whatever sense of self you had is gone. You live for the kid, you die for the kid. That's it. You're no longer you. Now you're just a parent. That's all people see you as. It's extremely frustrating, and if you're truly not ready to have a kid, it's stressful beyond words, beyond comprehension. I've truly felt like I was losing my sanity at times. Having a kid is great if you really want one and really plan for it. But if it was dropped into your lap because of a stupid mistake or oversight, good luck. From the bottom of my heart, good luck. It's horrible. You fantasize about prison. You know you ruined your life, and you can't undo it. I gave mine up, but my body is still destroyed. Moms lose that light in their eyes. Life goes from fun and carefree, to a chore. Motherhood ages women terribly. I'm losing my hair in my 30s, and I know it's because of stress, and I have been free 5 years now. It's too late. Damage is done. The only hope a mother has is for a time machine. So hopeless, pretty much. I do not regret my abortions. So many people, me included, have children without thinking about it. Like I thought more about what yogurt to buy in the grocery store yesterday than I did about whether or not we should have children. It is just assumed that is what you do. The conveyor belt of life. Date, get married, have a kid, have some more. It's not about if. The only really decision is when. And as you know, you can't really control the when. Like many others have said, I love my kids. Love them so much. They have brought so much joy to our family. But I think I could have been just as happy had I not had them. Maybe even happier. Certainly a more contributing member of society. I sometimes wonder if I'm doing more net harm than good by adding to our overpopulation problem. My kids are not the center of my world. And today's parenting culture make you seem like a heartless jerk if you do not idolize your kids. I for sure come off like that sometimes. I don't miss them when I travel for work. I'll happily vacation without them. It doesn't bug me when I miss bedtime. I think I'm trying to find a balance where I can still be me, despite having kids. But it takes a lot of guts to live like that in today's society. Last comment, the one thing I hate the most about having kids is your total inability to take care of your own needs. Sick? Too bad, you're still up at 6 a.m. and have to run full tilt until 8 p.m. when they go to bed. Had a bad day and just want to veg? Too bad, kids need to go to dance lessons and you have to make dinner and then work on a science project. Stressed and tired from work? Too bad, you have to put a big smile on your face and tickle your toddler because you promised him this morning. On and on. Exhausting. I am currently tucked in a chair with an 8-day-old sleeping on me. I love him and I love his psycho 3.5-year-old sister. I would not give either of them up for anything in the world. That being said, my husband and I have like parenthood to Stockholm Syndrome. You are a hostage. Your life revolves around these tiny crazy people and you are mostly at the mercy of their whims. I have not played video games in years, I have only read 1 or 2 new books since I had my daughter and it is exhausting. Sometimes, I imagine what the other path would have been like and I am sad that we did not remain childless. But then my daughter tells me an absolutely hilarious story about her imaginary dogs or some other weird stuff and I remember that my life would be boring without her. That, and without kids my husband and I would probably need new lovers if we had not had children. Thanks for listening to Radio TTS. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to receive free condoms. Joke aside. Share your own stories in the comments below. Let us know if you enjoy being a parent or if you are someone who regrets having kids.